It's time. Come on aboard the Thirsty Thursday wagon. Who is here? I have all my little things. Just waiting for some friends to appear. Well, let's see what we got here. Let's see if it's showing up on my Saving Dinner page. We will not be enjoying it on a larger screen. No, sir. No, ma'am. Hi, Yolanda. Good to see you. Yeah, it just shows, hard to get notifications these days, isn't it? Hi, Lucy. Good to see you. Here come my ladies. I like watching y'all walk in. It's like having a party and seeing people at your front door. Hello, Trisha. And Terry, hi. Good to see you. It is a beautiful day. We have a beautiful day in our neighborhood too, Lily and Rosemarie. Good to see you. And Jane, hi. Brenda's in the house. Good to see you. Trisha sets her alarm. That's the way you have to do it, because we can just, I think maybe I could be wrong. But maybe they're going to take that away. Gwen and Tammy, it's so good to see you guys. Joanne is here too. Yay. I love all you lovelies. It's so fun to see you coming in here. What happened to Fly Lady? I don't get her at 11 or 3. It's always there. It's always there. You just have to go to the page. They don't give you the things anymore. I don't get them either. So I think we just have to start depending on ourselves and not Fly Lady. I'm not Facebook, because I think the problem is that they're swamped. So I'm in your appointment journal, Brenda. That makes me so happy. Oh, well, I'm glad you're all here. Come on in, everyone. It's good to see you all, and I really appreciate you showing up. So much to do. Yeah, Linda, that's the deal. It's so much. I love you so much back, Terry. Thank you. Hi, Catherine. Catherine's in the house. I love it when you guys show up. It is like having people in your home. I'm serious. I would be standing there. I would be handing you a glass of iced tea and inviting you to sit down for lunch if you were here. I totally would. You know that, right? This is part of my DNA. This is the way I roll. So Jane's taking time to break her fast with ACV vinegar while she makes her smoothie. What a smart woman. Smart woman. She's on the sprint. That's what she's on. So I'm glad you're all here. Thanks so much for showing up, and thank you for sharing these videos, and thank you for the consistency of being such a great community. I have to tell you how much I appreciate that. It's no fun being in this big shutdown or whatever. And that in our little county, and believe it or not, we are like the only Transylvania county in the entire United States. So that's where I am. Marla and I live in the same county. And for us, we have had 7 cases total. That's it. Just 7 cases. And they're all people who work outside of our county. And our governor, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, is opening the state up on May 8th. Well, we have social distanced for all of that time. We have social distanced for a very long time. And so we've started getting back together again. We had dinner together, and I feel really good about that. All of us have followed everything to the letter of the law, and we had a great time last night. We had a wonderful time. And I think we have been, we've been very careful this whole time, but we've also, we also understand that it is time for the country to open up, within reason, of course. Every little country every little county rather has to do it exactly the way that makes sense for them. And for us, this is what has made sense for us. So you could say that we're a little bit of a couple of rebellious old broads. Maybe we are. But you know what? it makes sense for where we are. Now, had I been in New York City, oh, heck no, I would have been sheltered in, and sheltered in for a very, very long time. We don't live in a hot spot. We are very careful, and we're still going to, pretty much follow the guidelines, but we're going to get together too because we don't see anybody else. And, there you are. And Terry, congratulations on the 30-pound weight loss. I am so proud of you. Very proud of you. Things happen. Good things happen to us. Now, I want to talk today about the narrative that we all have about ourselves. I think you're going to find it interesting because I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza this morning. As a matter of fact, I haven't finished listening to him. And I love this guy because you know how I always talk about how your brain, it's more important than your plan, because really, at the end of the day, it's our brain that leads us around. Our brain is the one that makes the decisions for us, doesn't it? So when we cooperate with that brain and we're constantly doing things that our brain is telling us to do, even though it's to our own hurt, it's because of the comfortable narrative. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And Joe Dispenza is the one who lights me up. I love him. I love all of his stuff. I think he's fantastic. And I've read a couple of his books. 2 of them I've read twice. And he's just amazing. So I just really would say to you, be aware of your brain. Your brain is everything. Your brain is the thing that's making your decisions for you, right? We understand that, but if we can put ourselves more into the driver's seat and making those, instead of letting the subconscious do all the work, and we put ourselves into the frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex of the brain, you'd be surprised at how things change up. And today at 4 p.m., I am going to show you how to make bone broth in an Instant Pot, which I've done before, and also talk about the mindful mug, right? So that said, the mindful mug, this is it in my hand, is our little mug to help us to become mindful about our meals. I am telling you, mindful about our meals. We need to be mindful about our meals, because if we're not mindful and we're just eating mindlessly, this is what puts the body clutter on. This is the thing that we're always, wondering what happened. Well, we go in and we start eating like we've got feed bags strapped to us. It's just constant, and it's amazing. But we need things to help us to remember to be mindful, and that's what the mindful mug is all about. And if you order $200 worth of product from our supplement store, and it's on savingdinner.com, you will get this mindful mug sent to you absolutely free with a little note from me. If you order $100, you can pay $5 and get a mindful mug. That's what we have, you guys. That's what we have right now. And of course, Marla and I have come up too with our own supplement line. This is our body clutter supplements. And I can tell you all the stories about all of these. They're fabulous supplements. This is what most of us are deficient in. The vitamin D, yes, check. B complex, check. Are you under stress? Check. How's your heart? CoQ10. How are your bones? CalMags to the rescue. And if you will look at it, go to savingdinner.com/wise. You're going to find out why we chose these supplements, all the research that went into them, and we even document the research there for you. So you check them out yourself, savingdinner.com/wise. We also have, of course, the Body Clutter Wise Women's Tea that everybody's raving about. As a matter of fact, Marla had a testimonial from a woman who said that she is drinking it, and her blood pressure has come down, which is a good thing. So, of course, we're not making any claims about that. I'm just telling you what's up. Friday, tomorrow, is Q&A. Do you have a question? Do you have a question? I sure hope so. If you have a question, send it in to support@savingdinner.com and write question for Leanne on Friday in the subject line. I'll answer it right here tomorrow. And Terry's asking about our Full Bloom event. It's in September. That's right. If you want to find out about that and be here in person, go to savingdinner.com/bloom, and all that information is there. I think I covered everything, didn't I? I sure did. Let's talk about what we're talking about today. It's interesting because, we all have a narrative in our heads, don't we? Sometimes it's this running commentary that we have, and we get up and we think it's all going to be different today, and then we start doing the same things and start getting the same results and start saying, what the heck is going on here? Well, I think this is a really good quote. This is our quote of the week. And that's from Buckminster Fuller, who was quite an interesting dude. He's the inventor of the geodesic dome, lots of architecture. He was a scientist, just a futurist, brilliant man. He says, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And that's why I want to talk about this today, because today is Thirsty Thursday, and we are thirsty for good information, aren't we? We're thirsty for something that's going to help us, that's going to help, steer the boat maybe in a slightly different direction so that we get to live that vibrant life that we're all seeking. And from where I'm sitting, what I have seen over and over and over again on repeat has been that those who change their story change their lives. Those that change their story change their lives. And where does that narrative start? It starts right up here. And we have this idea about ourselves. We have these, wrong beliefs about ourselves. We have all kinds of things going on inside of our head. And as we're thinking these things, our brain is always looking for evidence to support our hypothesis. So if you say, I just can't lose weight, your brain is going to say, you betcha on it. And guess what? You're not going to lose weight. Once upon a time, a long time ago, I used to say, man, I can't lose weight to save my life. As a matter of fact, if I smell stuff coming out of a bakery, I'll gain weight just by smelling it. Now, I thought I was being funny. But guess what? That started to become true in my life. And as I changed that narrative and stopped saying those things and started even flipping the switch and flipping the script, I started to see things happen differently. Not only did I lose the weight, I lost the weight easily. We wrote a book about it, Body Clutter. We wrote a book about it, but that was because I changed that. Now, I never connected the dots to all of this until much, much later. But this is exactly what it's all about. And I'm going to share this with you because I feel like it is some of the most powerful stuff that you guys can put into your journal and remind yourselves about why you're doing what you're doing. Okay? First thing is, we have three narratives. I'm going to call them three. There's three. We have an imperative narrative, right? The imperative story that we tell about ourselves. We have a comparative narrative where we compare ourselves to all the different people. And we have a reparative narrative as well. And that is when we get to the place of understanding that the comparative and the imperative aren't working. And as a matter of fact, are putting us into a little box that we don't want to belong to, that we don't want to be in. All right? Let's talk about that. What is an imperative narrative? You know this one, guys. You know this one. This is the one where you call up a friend. I just need to vent. Okay? I just need to vent. And you go through this long, arduous saga of your life. I was born in a field years and years ago. You start there and it just gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. It's a sad, long, drawn out, and then he said, and then she said, and this is how I feel. I can't ever, and it's because of this, and my life is that, and my husband, da-da-da-da-da-da, and my children, and my job, and my whole thing. It is just the imperative narrative of how horrible everything is. And as you're doing this again and again and again, as you're telling anyone who will listen, you're wiring and rewiring that neural pathway in your brain. And your brain is saying, okay, fine, let's find the evidence to support this. And sure enough, you do. You get kids that are just out of control and awful. You get a husband who's just meh, meh, meh at you. You've got a boss at work who's just horrible. And all of these things add up and they pile up, and it's imperative, and you keep talking about it. And you keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, gathering all the evidence for it, and see my life's a disaster. And yet, you're wondering what's going on here. And then we add another part to this. You have the comparative narrative, and that is, and my life is just real crap. And then Betty Sue over here, my neighbor, she's just, look at her. She doesn't have 30 pounds to lose. She's got a great husband. Her kids are wonderful, and she's got this amazing job. And there's your comparative narrative. And what has happened here is that we are discontented, disconnected, and we put ourselves in these little tiny boxes of prisons that we've built ourselves. We've built them ourselves. And the way out of that is to start to do some repair work. To understand that to compare is to put ourselves into a place of never being enough. And we know that comparison is the thief of joy. We know that, yet we do it. We want to be like her. We want to be like this celebrity. We want to have what she has, or do what she does, or whatever it is. Have a mother like your girlfriend. We're constantly doing this. And as we compare, we're robbing ourselves too of our own life, because we're living hers vicariously. And we don't have our own life. We're building our lives on complaints. And when we complain, that shrinks the hippocampus of your brain. It literally shrinks your brain. Tay, you said it really well. To compare is to despair. To compare is to take all the joy out of your life, to suck it dry. To suck it dry. And it's part of the if only syndrome as well. That if only I could do this, then everything will be great. If only I could put on those size 6 jeans, then my life is going to be perfect. If only I drove a nicer car. If only I had a better job. If only my husband wasn't that guy. If only. That's part of the whole thing. That's part of the imperative narrative. That's part of the whole thing, of the comparison. But when we get into the reparative narrative, we understand that comparison is never going to work. Comparison is only going to rob us of our own lives. When we get into the reparative narrative, we understand that this long story that we keep telling about ourselves, while it might seemingly be true, if we start to look for different evidence to support the different life that we want to live, it will fall into our laps. And I know that. I know that because I've experienced it. And it isn't that I've had such a great, fabulous, absolutely spectacular life and the one that you'd want to lead yourself. I've had my moments. I've had the places of being in with my face in the carpet, of despair, of thinking, why was I even created in the first place? Why am I even here? My life is miserable. My life is awful. I have been divorced. I have had a child go off the deep end and got arrested. I have been through things that have just been horrible and rocked my world. But the thing that has repaired that has been that I started seeking better than that stuff. I started to believe differently about my son's future. I started to believe differently about my own future and about my own love and about my own ability to have a relationship. But if I'd kept on the path that I was on, there would have been no repair. The repair comes from the willingness to see that what is currently happening isn't working. And when you can identify it and see and hear what you're saying about yourself and about your life and about the people in your life, then you can stop the crazy making and you can pull back and not do it anymore. The reparative narrative looks like this. I have made a decision for myself to flip the switch and to stop the whining, to stop the complaining, and to let these people go. Find something good to say about them. Find something good to say about my child. I remember when my son had been arrested, and I remember calling and crying with Marla, telling her what was going on. He had, he was a teen, and he had a troubled relationship with his father, and there was a lot of things going on. And I had a hard time. I said to her, I said, I love him, but I don't like him. And I said, and I'm really having a hard time believing that this child even came from me, and that I can love him. And she said to me, get a picture of him from when he was 3 years old. And it was one of the best things anybody had ever said to me. And I had this little picture of him when he was like 3 or 4 years old. So cute, so sweet. And I prayed for that little picture. That's how I could pray for him. That's how I could do it. And that's what we need to do. We need to be seekers of how do we bridge that gap and leave that stuff alone, and leave the complaining and the whining and the bitterness and the anger and all the rest of it that's holding us back from the life that we want. How do we do that? We look for those solutions. We speak in the terms of what is a solution-oriented thing. And sometimes it means we have to unplug from the emotion and just take a look at this whole problem, write it out, pro-con list, whatever it is that you need to do, and figure out a strategy so that you are able to get back to that. That's what you need. We have to be able to get back to the truth of who we are, created on purpose on this earth by God himself. If you think about the odds of being created. Think about the odds of a baby. One egg, one tiny sperm, and just at the right exact circumstances, boom, you're born at this time. Think about that. It is on purpose. It was by design. It was by God himself creating you so that you would be here right now today. And we start to think about things in those kind of terms, in that kind of gigantic perspective, that we're not just some speck, that we're not just some random person taking up space, that there's a mission for us and there's a purpose for us. And it's not to sit there and complain your butt off so that you don't have a life left to live. It's not. It's to get in and to be aware and to be in your life, not just letting it happen. It drives me nuts when people say, I'm just here wasting time. Don't ever look at time that way. Look at it as a gift. It's a gift. So repairing that narrative is everything. Because when we repair the narrative, then we can start living our lives on purpose, with meaning, with a chance, with an opportunity to really embrace and love our lives. But we have to flip the switch and make a new decision. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm watching myself. I'm hearing myself complain and whine and carry on and have this awful conversation. And I'm not going to do it anymore. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to repair the breach. How can I do that? How do I do that? Well, for me, it was loving that little boy. And I will tell you, all those years later, he is 28 years old now, and we're as close as can be. And I really believe that was one of the biggest steps for me in the right direction, so that I could love him back to where he needed to come, so I could love him back. And so God could do the work. He couldn't do the work with a complaining, whining woman. He couldn't use me. I was useless to him because I was too busy complaining, and I was too busy whining to everybody who would listen. And when I stopped that and started loving on that son in that little tiny picture, everything changed. Everything. The direction had shifted. The energy had shifted. My heart shifted. That's huge. And I will also say to you, don't wait. Don't wait for the motivation to do this. Don't wait for something to fall down from the sky and make you have to do this. Don't wait for a doctor to say, I got some bad news for you. Don't wait for any of this stuff. Don't wait for your house to catch on fire before you get insurance. Don't wait for all of these things. Start now. Don't wait. Create. Create the life that you want. Write it out. What does it look like? What does it look like? And I will tell you this, I know that your life isn't all about those size 6 jeans. It's not. There's way more involved in that. You want to create and ask yourself, is this creating the vibrant life that I want to live? Is it? Is it? Does sugar do that for you? Does that create vibrancy in your life? No. Does whining and complaining all the time create vibrancy in your life? No. Does having this long diatribe conversations with a friend who just says, oh, I know, it's just so awful. Does that create vibrancy too in your life? I know the answer to that, and so do you. No, it does not. What creates the life that we want is by deliberately going out there and making it happen. By hook or by crook, as my mother used to say. You just do the best that you can with what you got. But you make a decision that what you've been doing hasn't been working. Then don't do that anymore. Simple, right? But it's a decision that you make. What can you do instead? Start writing it out. I'm going to tell you something. A piece of paper and a pencil or a pen or whatever is one of the most amazing tools in the toolbox. And when you start to ask yourself the questions, what if I did this instead? What if I, instead of calling a friend and complaining about that, said to my friend, here's the situation. What do you think? And how can I start changing my mind about this? What about that instead of those long diatribes that just wear you out and make you feel completely hopeless? Like there's just no hope for you at all in this earth. That's not true. Creating a plan for yourself and then working it backwards, because, when I say don't wait, create, what are you going to create? Create new habits. If you want to quit smoking, then create a plan to help you to quit smoking. What does that look like for you? Does it mean cold turkey? Does it mean going and getting some kind of a patch or whatever? What does it mean for you? Write it all out and figure out a plan, and then figure out a day to start it and figure out how you're going to get through it all. Set up your support system, and on it goes. This kind of stuff, this is the construction. When before, that narrative was destruction. And we don't want to do that anymore. We want to create the lives that we really want to lead. And we want to create vibrancy. We want to be healthy. We want to play full out in our lives. We can't do that with a destructive narrative like we've had in our lives. The reparative narrative is all about you taking responsibility for your life, ending the complaining garbage, and taking things seriously and starting to create a morning routine, an evening routine. You've heard this before on Fly Lady. We create them in our Take Back Your Life. We call them rituals. And the reason we do is because we elevate those things. If it weren't for Fly Lady teaching me about routines way, way, way back when, I don't know what would have ever happened to me. I know I would have never had Saving Dinner. I know I would have never written a New York Times best-selling book. I know I would never have written 10 books that I've written. It was a dream. It was something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't get past the emotional and physical clutter in my life. I could not get past it, and the body clutter. And all of those things I've managed to get past. And it's only because I deliberately made an intention about it. I made a plan about it, and I went after it with everything that I had. And as I slipped back into old patterns, I checked myself and said, oh, no, you don't. Back you go. And that's why we do the sprint. I mean, it's just like, hey, you're getting out of control. Back you go. Let's do this. It's very, it's just, this is what we need. We need to have parameters in our lives. This is what we want, then this is what you need to do. And that is how it's done. It seems difficult sometimes, doesn't it? It seems untenable. It seems like it's for everybody else. But I'm going to tell you, when you sit down with a paper and pencil and just decide, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to write down what it is that I want, and I'm going to start figuring this stuff out and not quit on yourself, that's when you flip the switch. that's when the lights turn on and the darkness is gone. And you can see going toward those things that you want. You can see it. It's on the horizon. And the whole key to this, though, is getting ready for that journey and embracing it every step of the way. Because sometimes it's like a cha-cha. It's 2 steps up and a couple steps back, and you feel like you're going nowhere. But if you don't quit on yourself, then you're going to get to where you want to go. That's a promise. I've seen it every time. And you know, I've been a nutritionist since 1994, 1993, 94, right around there. I've seen a lot of people. I've counseled a lot and coached a lot of people. And the people that I have seen with the most success, whether it's in their health or their weight or whatever, are these people who show up every single day into their lives with a plan, with an idea, with people who are supporting them, and with this idea that they're not going to go into the comparative narrative anymore, with this idea that they're not going to live this imperative narrative, and that if they're going to change their lives, that they're going to be in the middle of it doing the changing up. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. You have to show up. If you don't show up, you're not going to get the good stuff. That's how it works. And speaking of showing up, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have a webinar where I'm going to just break all this stuff down and show you exactly 10 steps to getting your weight under control and your health going in the right direction. I'm going to show you exactly what it is. I'm telling you, this stuff is gold. It's savingdinner.com/webinar if you want to sign up. You've got to. You can't just show up. You have to grab a seat. We have a limited amount of space, but I'd love you to be there because I'm going to give you the whole lowdown. Soup to nuts. I'm going to tell you exactly how it's done. So I hope you show up. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are amazing, and you're my community. And that, too, is part of the secret. Get a bunch of good ladies to hang out with, right? All right. Thanks so much for joining me again. I will see you at 4 p.m. where I'm going to be doing a little mindful mug business. And don't forget, if you want a mindful mug, all you have to do is order $200 worth of supplements. We've got them in the store. We got more on the way. And you'll get a mindful mug. And if you want one and you're not spending that, and you said, well, I just want this, and it's $100, $5. I'll throw in the mindful mug and send you a little note. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed this. Peace. You guys are the best. Love you. Bye.